Joining us now, author and immigrant rights advocate, Julissa Arce. She has a new piece out entitled, "We Need More Sanctuary Cities." And she joins us now. Julissa, explain your article and exactly the president's policy as it stands now.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on. I wrote this piece because earlier this month, Ramon Torres, a U.S. Latino citizen, was detained. He was arrested on suspicion of a DUI, and he was ordered to be released the next day. And the Ascension Parish Police Department did not release him for 4 more days because they wanted to confirm that, in fact, he was a U.S. citizen, even though he was carrying a driver's license from Louisiana, which is only given to people who are in the country legally. And so he was racially profiled and kept in jail for 3 days after the court ordered him to be released. And what it really brought into question for me was, what does happen to people who are undocumented who end up in local authority jurisdiction? And what ends up happening to a lot of undocumented people is that they get pulled over for a traffic violation, they end up in local jail, and then they get turned over into ICE, and then they get put into an ICE detention camp, or they get deported. And so what it really brought into question to me was, what happens to these people, and the need for more sanctuary cities that protects not only undocumented people from being turned over into ICE for very minor crimes like a traffic infraction, but also that it would help to protect Latino citizens from this type of racial profiling.
Hi there, Julissa. This is Corinne Jean-Pierre. I was just reading about your own personal story, and I'm thinking, with everything that's going on in the southern border right now, with kids being put in cages, families being separated, you came here when you were 11, and you were undocumented, I believe, for 15 years. Would love to hear a little bit about your travels, how you got to where you got to, if you can tell us and share that.
Sure, and thank you for asking about my own personal journey. I was very fortunate because I came to the U.S. on a tourist visa, and because of that, when I got married, I was able to adjust my immigration status. But I was undocumented for 15 years, and so I understand the fear. One of the things I talk about a lot is having to drive without a driver's license, because in Texas, where I grew up, undocumented people are not allowed to have driver's licenses or any type of formal state ID. And so I remember getting in my car and driving and being so scared that at any time I could get pulled over by police for doing, maybe going a little bit above the speed limit, or not coming to a complete stop at a stop sign, which we all do when we're in a hurry trying to get somewhere. And that fear of what happens to me if I get pulled over. The consequence for me wasn't I might get a ticket. The consequence for me could be I might end up in an ICE detention center. And that's why I advocate for immigrants now. It's because I understand what that fear is like. I always say my story has a joyful ending. I'm now a United States citizen. I've had a really wonderful life here, which wasn't always that way. But now, being on the other side of it, I want to advocate for our community and advocate for safer communities in the country that protect Latinos and that protect immigrants.
Julissa, this is Eddie Glaude. Thank you for your piece. Today marks the anniversary of the March on Washington, August 28th, 1963. And during that march, there was a particular vision of America that was put forward, an idea of who we are over and against the practices that really reveal the ugly underside of who we are. As you look out and you see Donald Trump's immigration policies, what vision of America is being represented through those policies? And how might your call for more safe cities counter that vision?
Yeah. I've learned a lot from the civil rights movement of the 1960s, and it's very instructive to me in the work that I do now. I certainly do not believe that the America that we're seeing unfold at this present moment is the one that the civil rights leaders of the 1960s were fighting for. And in many ways, I think that Donald Trump has normalized this kind of behavior. When we talk about racial profiling, it's not anything new in this country, right? Black men get racially profiled all the time. Latinos get racially profiled all the time. It wasn't very long ago that Joe Arpaio was found in contempt of court for racially profiling Latinos because he suspected that they might be undocumented. But then the president pardoned him, right? He pardoned him, and 2 years later, Joe Arpaio thinks that he can run to be sheriff in Arizona again. And the reason he thinks that, and the reason he's emboldened to do that, is because this president has normalized this kind of behavior. And in many ways, he's not only normalizing it, but he's condoning it. And he's the leader of that type of behavior. So it's certainly, this is not the America that I would like to see.
Julissa Arce, thank you so much. We definitely would like to have you come back and tell us more about what you're doing and your insights.
Thank you so much.
We'll be reading your new piece on sanctions.